Hello, guys.
I'll just sort of the Facebook thing. Right, that's me made it public.
I
So
love
we'll get
that.
some Facebook comments coming through shortly.
I love that name. Tories don't get tasered.
Hi, Tories, don't get tasered. Nice to see you in the feed.
That's somebody with a good sense of humour.
Nice. Yeah, he is. He's got a good sense of humour. Right, let's have a look, see who's in. Malcolm, he was the first through the door today. Followed by Stephen Bank here. Anna, Gingers. Hey, Urwilly's Bucket. Mr. E. Hi, Mr. E. Paul McMillan. Hi, Dylan. Hey, George. Gingers, as I say, Urwilly. Chris. Doug. Hi, Eddie. Tories don't get tasered. How you doing? Right, afternoon, Stephen. Afternoon, George. And we'll get the first of Facebookers through. Hi, Lorna. And hi, Christine. Right, David. We're getting there. A couple of minutes now. Before we start, there's a gig on. Let me get this up. Yeah, we've got a prize bingo night, 7 p.m, 12th of August, the Drovers Bar. Prize include booze, yes, goodies, etc. And the amazing Pete Scally providing the entertainment. So if you're in Glasgow, on that particular date, on the 12th of August, bingo night, 7 p.m, Drovers Bar. And the Indie 2 Cafe is having a charity night on the East Coast in Musselburgh on the 4th of November. So anybody living in the east side of Edinburgh, Portobello, Musselburgh, that tunes in, come along to the Indie 2 Cafe's charity night at the Premier Inn in Musselburgh, please. Okay, so that's the advert done. We're up here at 100 days. Let's get this show on the road. It's the 2 Davies and the 10th to the 8th, 2023. First up, Edinburgh Festival time, isn't it? And who's up here calling the SNP racists? Over to you, David.
Penny Mordaunt. She's basically done what you have to understand. Penny Mordaunt is the leader of the House of Commons, that is, right? And as you saw during the coronation, she took a fairly major part in holding the sword and the crown and all the rest of it. So she is British establishment through and through. And you would imagine that she would have nothing nice to say about the SNP. But what I would say, she actually called the SNP, give or take, racists.
Yeah. She also said the SNP are misleading the Scottish people and leading them away from their families and the rest of the UK. There's so much crap in all your life. But the racist thing doesn't surprise us. Although she is herself a racist, if I remember right, Penny Mordaunt's the one that stood up and said that the Highland clearances is a way to deal with Scottish independence supporters.
Yeah.
You know, an absolute racist wee crap that she is coming up here telling us that we're racist. Well, talk about pop calling a kettle black. And Mr. Salmond had a gig on as well on Saturday called The Eyes Have It, as with the Speaker in the House of Commons. And he had Mick Lynch, David Davies, and some other spanner for doing that road on. Anyway, what these three idiots for doing the road were trying to convince the people here in Scotland was that taxation actually pays for the public. Public services actually paid out of taxation. Wow. Hey, talk about economic illiterates. Do they think we're daft up here? We know fine well that the Bank of England prints the money and then the government taxes it after it's into circulation. Wow. Oh, man, mental.
Well, you know, we have to look at the facts when it comes to anything that a Tory or a Red Tory might say. we've got a situation at the moment where the Bibby Stockholm thing is parked up in Portsmouth, and effectively they're trying to get people to board that unsafe vessel. It is an unsafe facility. The fire brigade have basically knocked it back and went, no way. No way we could do
it. Had a look at it, no, David, and said, "We're not signing off on it."
But the UK government, the Tories, the fascist Tories, are trying to get more of these prison barges put in other parts of the country. And we've got one such situation where they're trying to force Glasgow City Council to take one and put it in Glasgow, right? And the SNP council leader, who is Susan Aitken,
right?
Yeah, she's basically said Glasgow will never be home to an asylum barge. And I hope everybody supports her 100%. You know me, I dislike the council, but this is good. This is good. This is one way why we're...
Well, actually, kudos to Edinburgh City Council and all. When they tried to send that bloody ship up, Liverpool and Edinburgh, where they were sending these two cruise ships, they tell them to bugger off. They won the Burton in Edinburgh or Liverpool.
Yep.
To a huge cost to public purse, because these ships went back to their owners, but they still had to be paid.
Yeah.
You know, but to have Penny Mordaunt come up over this border and tell us that anybody who supports Scottish independence is a bloody racist who's been misled by the SNP, it's a sort of disgusting thing to hear coming out of their mouth. Yeah. But we'll get to disgusting things when it feels miss a wee bit later on.
It basically fills the mouths of those people that don't like the SNP in the first place.
Right, let's get this one.
Allows them to be bad as well. Okay.
Right, Dylan's given us a super chat, and it's: if we win our independence through GE and England deny it, do you think the EU would negotiate with Keir Starmer? Listen, it's got nothing to do with the English denying it. The international community will decide whether they're going to recognise it as an independent country. At that point, Westminster's hand will be forced.
Yeah. What we are looking for at the end of the day is that we win more than 30 SNP MPs sat in the House of Commons after it's all done. At that point, the people will have spoken. Let me finish, Dave. And that, therefore, is independence. And what we are doing then is we are waiting for our friends in other countries recognising us as an independent nation. There you go.
Right, anyway, it brings us nicely on to the second subject, and that was a poll for Channel 4 News by Polestar and by Pollsters Find Out Now and Electoral Calculus. Anyway, they polled 11,000 people UK-wide. And the seat breakdown, if the election was tomorrow, would be Tories 90. Wow. We only 25% of the public done that road plan and voting them. Labour 461. So that blows the myth out the water that you need to vote Labour in Scotland to get rid of the Tories. Obviously not.
Obviously not.
Yeah. So that blows that lie right out the water. The SNP would have 38 seats. Yeah. Thanks, Dexter. Very generous of you.
And the Unionists.
Wait a minute, get Scottish breakdown in a second, mate. And the Lib Dems would have 37 seats. As far as I can tell, the Alpha Party didn't poll, you know, or weren't included in the poll. Yeah. Anyway, the Scottish breakdown, David, that'd be 38 seats for the SNP and 19 for the Unionist parties. Now, breakdown of how the seats would go for the Unionist parties in Scotland is not important. It's the amount of seats that would be taken by the SNP. 38 is an overwhelming majority. So the Scottish people will have spoken, and Humza will be starting the negotiations to see who ends up with the biggest slice of the CD collection.
Now, you have to understand that at that point, 38 is less than 48. We would be down 10 MPs. Does that make a difference? No, it doesn't. Westminster is a first past the post
say that when this poll came out, all the chat and social media, Max William Robespierre did, he covered it in his programme. If you don't know Maximilian Robespierre's channel, folks, channel. Anyway, he does a breakdown on it, and in the comments, and he gets a lot of comments on the issues he puts the videos out on. And everybody in England's gone like that. We can't see the SNP losing that many seats.
Right.
And then we'll get Richard Murphy in the paper the day, in the national newspaper the day, with an article saying, Labour on the off on the people of Scotland anything.
Yeah.
The bedroom tax stays, the 2-child cap stays, the rape clause stays, near reversing of the anti-trade union laws, near reversing of the anti-protest laws. He basically tells us, Labour on the off on the people of Scotland anything.
Yeah.
You know. Basically, Murphy's just saying, Professor Murphy just said in the papers what we've been saying. Starmer is just is getting everybody ready for continuity government.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Labour are trying to fool the people of Scotland into believing that they are the only way to get rid of the Tories, right? Well, to the people of Scotland, the simple way to get rid of the Tories is to vote SNP, get independent, become independent, and then we don't have any Tories of either colour, of any colour.
Because there isn't any registered parties in Scotland except for the SNP and Greens.
That's right.
So the day after independence, there'll be no Labour and there'll be no Tories until they organise themselves and get registered with a Scottish Electoral Commission.
And here's the rub. All you out there that are voting, that are hoping they're going to get an Alba in somewhere, wait until independence and you'll find that the blooming Scottish Parliament will be filled with smaller parties, and therefore we end up with a more European blend where you see the lots of parties join up together to produce a government, and you see that in the European nations throughout, and it's really good to see because that's proper democracy. Anyway,
well, I'm putting this one up with Tam. I wonder what percentage here in Scotland won't get a vote in the GE because they don't have photographic ID like yourself, Tam. Well, Tam, contact your council and get the voter certificate. Okay. Now, if you're going to do it that way because you want to go to the polls yourself, then get the voter certificate for the local council. You must get it by October, folks, by the end of October. Yeah. Believe it or not, even though the GE is still about a year away, you've got to have this certificate apparently by the end of October, and it runs for a year. All right.
Don't mess about.
The other way to get round the voter ID thing is you can order a postal vote.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to voter ID, you're absolutely right, Tam. I wonder how many people won't get a vote, but there are ways around it. You get your voter certificate for the council, get it by October, or you take a postal vote.
They're trying to make it awkward. They're trying to make it whereby the wee person that isn't into the politics nor the rest of it is a bit bamboozled by it all. It's not a bamboozled situation. You can have a perfectly straightforward and free method to allow you to vote. You don't have to be in a situation where somebody's saying, oh, you don't have photographic evidence of who you are, so therefore out the door. That's not it. That's not how it is. If you actually go and look at your own, what's it called, your own unit attached to your council that deals with that, they actually tell you what the rules are. Okay.
Aye.
Class action, thank you very much. That's $4.99. I'll read it out. Only.
Jump. What do I put it up?
Yeah.
What do I put it up? Only need 29 MPs and independence can be declared, and ask the Nordic countries to recognise it and watch them fall over each other doing it. I'll tell you what, the one that's going to be important class action, it's a good point, will be Norway, because everybody's beholden to Norway, because they're one of the richest. Their sovereign wealth funds funding an awful lot of projects throughout the world.
Yeah. You know? And also, they've got a straightforward race They're both sitting on the track site on the track, hunched down, ready to do a sprint along with Iceland. So it's going to be a race between Norway and Iceland to see who.
They do get a race on, but the one that's going to be important really is Norway, because their sovereign wealth fund has great influence in the world. And Tam's going to get a postal vote. And apparently he Wayne's back again, but I can't find his comment because the comments are moving too fast, so I can't follow. And once he types again, I'll put him on the naughty step again, okay? But and let's get on with it anyway, right? So Sarwar and Dross won't enjoy reading the polling done by Channel 4, okay? And the next one, this brings us on to a poll by Redfield and Wooten. You know they wazards to make things up. Anyway, it shows that the highest priority in Scottish people's minds is still the constitutional question, i.e. independence, right? That's the highest priority in Scottish voters' minds, the constitution. Okay. Now, it also shows that the SNP are still the preferred competent party to run Scotland, and it also shows that the people of Scotland, by 60% think that the Westminster government's totally incompetent. Don't get me wrong, the Scottish government did the film fair much better. 43% thought they were incompetent, but what do you expect when you're up against the biased media? You know what I mean? In fact, that letter, you and I were sitting reading the letter in the Press and Journal, where the Press and Journal was a Bahookie kicked by one of its readers who are right-wing British nationalist media in Scotland. It also shows that Humza is the most popular of the party leaders here in Scotland. His approval rating is 5% higher than Sarwar's and 9% higher than Dross. No great. You should be outstripping these spanners by millions of miles. You know what I mean? The other thing it shows,
he's not going to get the approval rating that Nicola Sturgeon got, right? Because he's still a new kid in the block. That's it. Straightforward.
Oh, he's not going to get the that's apart from that, it's a very difficulty. You know, I mean, who could fill her boots?
Yeah.
You know, as I said the last time, she's probably the best statesperson on the planet at this point in time. What it also showed in this poll was that the support for Scottish independence rock solid according to this poll at 45%. We know that's a wee bit low. But when you go into the next part of the poll, it shows you the breakdown of how age groups would vote. And it's over 50%. When you add in the 17 to 25s, the 25s to 45s, and the 45s to 55s, who all favour, it's 50-50 at 45-50. Right, but and then it slowly decreases again. when you break it down, there's more than 50% in the younger age group that want it, so it's inevitable.
Does that mean we're all getting voted out, young man?
I mean, let's face it, unionists are dying faster than and the new generations come through.
No, don't say that. That could be me that's getting women heading for getting my coffin lid nailed.
I mean, you know, I'm not going to bring chicken for Christ's sake. But so
anyway, this Redfield and Wilton polling company.
The world renowned and is bombed up by these people as being specialist polls. They're only 2-year-old. Nobody's bloody heard of them.
As far as I'm concerned, it's one wee guy in his blooming string vest, sat in his bedroom, and that's it. That's how he does it. Yeah. So, and it's just the mere fact that he is pro-union, and he will always try to make sure that the poll is weighted very, very much to the unionist side.
Polls are not weighted. The bugger makes it up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, we can't say that. Could get sued. Sure that information is very accurate, David.
Yes, must be.
Aye. We're sure they weight it properly, don't we?
Yes.
Lead weight, gold weight, something like that. Right. Anyway, so on the whole, the poll was positive for the Scottish government, because in every policy area, the people of Scotland trust the Scottish government over the trust of Westminster. You know. So there you have it. So that was the two polls that have been released this week.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, their poll having the vote for independence solid at 45%. Don't think so. I think it's much higher than that.
Anyway, the situation, providing that we can all get out and accentuate the positive in terms of how the SNP are doing and that people are backing them, the rest of it. That's the trick. That's the way to get people involved.
Well, that was a point Leslie Riddock made in the National today or yesterday, which she put an article. It's encouraging whom that to do it amongst the people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Poor Leslie, yeah. That's her. She's had the book for the Scotsman.
Herald, David, Herald.
Sorry, I thought it was the Scotsman she got.
No, but she's still, don't get me wrong, she's still within the Herald group. She's writing for the National, isn't she? She's a columnist for the National.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on as time moves on. Routine COVID tests in hospitals and care homes to end here in Scotland as of now. But the routine testing in England stopped in April, 3rd of April 2023, so we're a wee bit behind them, a good bit behind them. But routine testing of NHS staff, care home staff, care home visitors, care home residents, hospital and people checking into hospital, that's over. You know.
Well, I hope that works out. I really do. Anyway, after all, who am I?
So, testing's finished. So it's official, folks. It's over. Yeah. Even though we know it's no over. Yahoo News was reporting this morning that there's a new quick spreading strain out there. But if I'm not immune to it, I know. I mean, I've got the text in to go for my next COVID jag and my flu jag. It's getting rubbered. Yeah. If the vaccine hasn't worked the first time, then it's not a viable vaccine.
Well, to be honest with you, the vaccine never did anything bad to me at all. You know, it was. I haven't found any bad ill effects with the vaccine. You know.
Tick. Aye, and Terry's saying that he's aware of 2 people who've got this new variant. As I say, it was being reported in the media. It's quick spreading as well, apparently.
Yeah.
No, I'm just no. I'm not having any of these jobs.
Yeah.
Paul Davies says coughing. That's smoking butt, mate. That's got nothing to do with COVID.
Well, I talk to him all the time, so yeah, give him hell. Seriously, give him hell. I want him to stop smoking. Anyway.
Aye. I'll stop when I'm ready. Now let's move on. LGBT and trans advocacy group given a leave by Court of Session to give written submissions supporting the Scottish Government's GRR bill. Now, Scottish Trans, part of the Equality Network, will give written evidence supporting the bill brought by Alistair Jack. Now, he used a Section 35 to stop the GRR bill for getting royal assent, much to the horror of Holyrood, because this was a cross-party bill. It was agreed cross-party. It was voted for cross-party. It's not an SNP bill the way they like to portray it in the media. It is a Scottish Parliament that passed this GRR bill. Now, this case goes ahead next month in September. I think it's September 21st or 23rd that goes ahead. And now, it doesn't really matter whether you agree with the GRR bill or no. That's not it. What we do know is that our democracy is once again being blocked. This is cross-party consensus. The bill was passed and it's in a devolved area. And Alistair Jack had no right to put his jack boots all over it. So this is about democracy taking these people to court. So the Court of Session will start hearing the case against Alistair Jack blocking this bill shortly next month. So trans groups are getting put in submissions in support of the bill. which is only fair after all it affects them.
Yeah, I mean this is the whole point of it, right? Most of you lot don't have any problem with gender recognition, but when somebody is, I know one lad that lives not very far away that is looking at changing his gender, right? And it's a self-certification thing. He is old enough to say, I want to be female. And what harm is that going to do? He's not the kind of lad you would think would go around and do that because he wants to get into girls' toilets and things like that. Don't talk wet. It's something that we need to give these people in order they can self-certificate that they are another gender.
You see, I've kept out of this one, David.
But I actually see it from.
I know I did get that, David. I did get that. As I say, it's just one of these things that I've tried to stay away from. I have no problem with making life more equal for everybody or anybody. It's just not something that I know much about. I have gay friends, I have lesbian friends. There's even a couple of transgender friends in the independence movement.
It's the gender recognition, where somebody feels that they've been living inside a man's body when they've been female, right, and the other way around, right. So I think instead of picking a fight for no bloody reason, let's live and let live. Yeah.
Aye.
Anyway, there you go. Anyway, sorry, can we get on with the next one?
Let's move on. Hey, that's a good one. Hey, this one's a cracker. Hey, you won't believe this one. This one's brilliant. Tories to put leaving the European Court on Human Rights in the next election manifesto. If the Supreme Court upholds the Court of Appeals ruling that the Rwanda gig is not on.
Yeah.
Robert,
the Tories have been trying to boot the European Court on Human Rights from now a few years back. Let's get Brexit done, and all the rest of it, and all the laws that they said they were going to change. And to be honest with you, you look at it and you go, what a load of nonsense. And the ECHR, the European Court on Human Rights, is something that has been really, really good for Scotland, because there were things where people's human rights were being affected. What are the Tories going to do for you? Yeah, if your human rights are being squandered, then where are you going to get help if the ECHR are not anymore recognised in this country?
I don't know how he's doing it, but I can't find this Wayne. They boot him.
Oh, sorry. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, folks, just ignore him. I can't find him. For some reason, he doesn't seem to be appearing in the chat here.
Yeah.
On my screen.
Yeah.
Because I'm running up and down the comments trying to find him to give him the order of the boot.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid, for some reason, he's not showing up.
Yeah.
I don't know what the script is.
Yeah.
But here's a kicker, right? Talk about manifesto pledge to get rid of the ECHR. They're not likely to win that election anyway, but that's beside the point. Because they're not likely to win that election, Sir John Redwood, apparently, or just John Redwood to you and me, because they're plank, and we don't do the royalties thing, and we don't give a damn about their titles. But what do you call it? He wants them to put a short, quick law through the new to get out of the European Court on Human Rights.
If they really wanted to, David, they could actually bring in a statutory instrument. Statutory instrument allows Tory cabinet members to write whatever the hell they like and get what they want through the old Henry VIII powers, which is a nonsense. that's another reason we need independence, so we can watch this shower of fools from the north side of a 17-foot blooming border fence or wall, and that's it. Simple as that, and be able to look at them and laugh at them and go, right, that's it. You've had your time. Now we're off.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Paul. The Tories can't walk away from the ECHR. It's a massive part of the Good Friday Agreement, but we'll get there. We'll be getting to Northern Ireland a wee bit further into the show. But so Redwood, he wants them to put a short, sharp law through the new, because what he says is they're likely to lose the next election, so let's get us out the new. Yeah. And it's all to Davies. It's all about not being able to stop wee votes. But leaving the European Court of Human Rights isn't going to stop wee votes.
No, of course it's
not. So play nice in the chat, folks.
Yes.
Right, the next one's for public information for our viewers.
Yeah.
All right. The UK has dropped any safety standards on beef and chicken that's imported from Brazil. So there'll be no checks on beef or chicken meat coming in from Brazil. So folks, when you go to the supermarket, have a look at country of origin before you buy. Because hygiene standards in Brazil, and they use hormones to inject the beast to go bigger and things like that. The chicken or battery chicken, you really don't want it. Yeah. Right? So this is basically a public health message for you, right? Don't buy Brazilian beef or chicken. I know that the UK is going to be desperate for foods because of the stupidity of leaving the EU. And they're going to look to flood the market with as much cheap crap as they can in order to keep food prices down. So always look at a origin, all right? Country of origin. Avoid Brazilian beef, avoid Brazilian chicken, because there is no safety checks on the standards of it.
This wee sign here, this wee symbol here, that is our brand. And as I go around, say, Aldi's when I do my shopping, I'm looking for that. If I see anything else, like a Union Jack or whatever, no, I don't. So I don't eat something that isn't made in our country, right?
Grown, baby, grown. We don't make chews and chickens. We grow them. But more importantly, the thing about buying Scottish, and this is advice to my friends in England as well. When you buy Scottish produce, meat produce, each beast that is born in Scotland is given a passport on the day it's born. And you can follow the process of that thing grown on the farm, gone to the abattoir, getting to the meat processor, and gone to the end retailer. You can trace it from farm to fork. That's what they call the scheme. Yeah. So if you're buying meats in the UK, folks, buy that brand.
Yeah, but
it's the highest quality product you're going to get on these islands.
Yeah. Also,
every single beast is tracked from the day it's born to the day it's going to your plate.
Yeah, but the over and above that, if you've got that symbol on, say, salad or whatever, that is going the shortest distance to your plate. So therefore, if we're looking to fight climate change and all the rest of it, having short journeys to your plate is the best thing of all.
And the other thing it is, folks, if you're buying anything with that on it, it supports local producers.
Getting a bit confused there, David.
Aye. It supports local producers, okay. But as I say, this number 7 was just to let you know that the market is about to be flooded with cheap beef and cheap chicken from Brazil, and there's no safety standards being set.
And Austin's made a really good point, but no turnips tea cakes. Remember that? Yeah, turnips only backs unionism. Simple as that.
I've noticed that the Jack was starting to appear in more and more products and Lidl's as well. Just make a point, they'll change it.
Yeah, yeah.
But as I say, food security, food safety, Brexit's going to be a disaster for it, David.
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
You know, but that we had to mention that one. So, folks, when you go to the supermarket, check country of origin when you're buying chicken and beef. Okay.
I remember a few years back, there was a butcher's in Wishaw, was it? Where
Aye. I was actually. Well, probably he's probably the biggest butcher in the area, actually.
Yeah, and the guy looking at it hadn't intended to do anything wrong. It was a meat he was supplied, right? And to be honest with you, that can happen all the way through. That can happen to you could end up with something that's on your plate that could bloody well kill you, right? So please, choose the saltire. All right.
As I say, but the other thing is it helps local producers as well. But as I say, even with our viewers in England, I would say if you want really top quality a food which has been produced at the highest standard, then I would consider Scottish meat, because we're the only part of the UK where the minute the beast is born, it's tagged, it's passported, and every step of its life is being recorded in that passport as it moves from farm to abattoir to processor to end supplier. Okay.
I also recommend that if you've got a will to do it, go and check out your local farm store. So in other words, that's where the stuff is grown and directly sold at their own market. And if you go along and have a look, it's a great wee day out. Fine, you'll maybe come back with stuff that you didn't really intend to buy. However, it's good to know for the future. Okay, right.
Well, let's move on. As time is moving on, and the news is out today that the BBC political editor Glenn Campbell to undergo undergo surgery for. Thanks, Alistair. That's very, very generous of you. To undergo surgery on a brain tumour that they found after he came off his bike and broke 10 ribs and battered his head. So apparently, Glenn Campbell is to go for a surgery on a brain tumour. Now, we don't think much of Glenn, but at the same time, we don't mean it. We just wish him.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So,
no.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a case of I hope he's all right. End of. Right.
And Class Action's making a good point. Apparently, they don't have to tell us where the food originates from. They don't have to tell us. It's not a must show.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now then, the next part that we're going to do is, I think it affects most people if you live in a house, whether you bought the house, mortgage and all the rest of it, or if you've rented the house. If you rented it from a local council, you tend to be okay, but a lot of houses these days, a lot of flats these days are done through the buy-to-rent market, where someone's taken a mortgage out on a flat and has rented it to you for 500-600 quid, whatever it is per month, in order that they make a wee bit on it and they've got their mortgage sorted out, right? But today we had a situation where Halifax and a lot of the other mortgage vendors that would provide mortgages for these have actually dropped the percentage, right, of lending.
Not interest rates on mortgages, aye.
Now, that is right in the face of the Bank of England, who seem to be hell-bent on putting the bank rates up the way. Keep it going up and keep it going up and keep it going up.
But basically the banks are saying, no, we can't keep passing this on, because if we do, the arse is going to fall out the housing market. We're going to end up with loads of houses we can't sell. And of course, we've spoken about why the Chancellor had got an easy negotiation on people who the banks are about to foreclose on getting a buy for 12 months.
I'm going to repeat what David said. They're worried that the arse is going to fall out of the housing market, because as the Bank of England keep on doing what they're doing, it starts to get more and more wobbly. People start to worry, well, maybe we won't move at the moment.
What's interesting with the mortgage lenders going against what the Bank of England wants them to do is, how's that going to affect inflation? It's going to have a negative effect about the Bank of England's strategy, isn't it? Yeah. But they're more concerned that the bottom's going to fall out the housing market. People know what about it. Class action says the arse has already fell out yet.
Yeah, this is the one to keep an eye on, because this, I believe, is going to have some kind of effect on every single one of you. Okay, I have no argument with a mortgage vendor putting the interest rate down the way, because that does help people, but they're not going to be able to keep it up for very long.
No, Ginger says if she gets food poisoning when she visits England, it will cause an international incident. I think at this point in time, the food's still safe, Gingers. But as I say, what's interesting about what's going on with the dropping of any standards, food safety standards when it comes to beef for Brazil and chicken for Brazil. America's a huge importer of beef from Brazil and chicken from Brazil. So, you've survived that, Ginger, so I'm sure you'll survive somewhere if you get it in England.
To be honest with you, you go into the big supermarkets in America, they're fantastic. And it's like, okay, we're worried about the chicken and beef and all the rest of it being injected with hormones coming from other countries. And America is one of the ones. But to be honest with you, I never had any problem going to an American supermarket and loading up. And it was cheaper as well.
Oh, that's true, Eddie. Ruth Davison was appointed a director of Baxter's Food Group, wasn't she? Ah, dear. Gingers gets her food for local farmers. Right, so what we're seeing here, folks, to get back on subject, is that the banks, the mortgage lenders are going like, wow, no, we can't keep we're not passing these rates on. We're just going to freeze here before people can't afford their mortgages. Which fair game, fair dues to them. They're going to take the hit themselves, But as the Bank of England have spent the last 14 months boosting the bank's balance sheets, I'm sure they can afford to take a wee hit or two, David.
Yes, they can. If you're talking about mortgage companies like Halifax, bloody hell, that's been there since Noah was a bloody boy, right? And they've been blooming sticking it up people in terms of getting money out of them for their mortgages, right? They have done bloody well. And I think it's bloody right for them to be able to take back a wee bit.
To be fair to them, and we were no off fair to bankers.
Yeah.
But this time the banks are going to take a hit. The Bank of England's not going to like it. They're trying to, between the Treasury and the Bank of England, they're trying to engineer a recession.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on, David, because time's getting on and we've still got a few subjects to get through.
Well, yeah, I think you should take this one. It's a really, really scary, right?
Oh, the PSNI data breach.
Yeah.
That is scary. Right, folks, here's the script. In case you don't know. You've all seen the headlines about the data breach in Northern Ireland today with Police Service Northern Ireland. So what actually happened? What happened was somebody put in a Freedom of Information request requesting the names and workplaces of all the officers in the PSNI and backroom staff. And believe it or not, the stupid buggers keep them it. Wow. It was actually up on the guy's website who made the Freedom of Information request for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So that means it could be screen grabbed many, many times. So all the officers are there, all their names are now known, and all their workplaces are now known.
Yeah.
And as we know, MI5 have raised the risk of domestic terrorism in Northern Ireland to high. But police officers in Northern Ireland, I don't know if you know this, folks, but police officers in Northern Ireland, every day before they go to work, they've got a mirror on the end of a big long stick and they walk round their cars to make sure there's no bombs under them before they get in them to go to work. You know, and to have PNSI and the chief inspector or the chief constable or whatever it is over there come out and say sorry. Sorry's no bloody good enough. And who was the commissioner for information? Commissioner for public information? Who thought it was a good idea to allow this information to be released?
I think actually they probably had a lot of freedom of information requests. This will have been done in error by someone lower down the chain. Yeah. So at the end of the day, wow, what a thing to do. What do you do about it? I mean, you know, you're actually talking about possibly paying for these people to move houses. You know, it's the only way you get around it.
The home addresses were the roads, David. It was
you can find out who they are and what they are. It then becomes an important thing if they've got the details of what somebody's name is, what their position is in the PSNI, and all the rest of it. They can find the rest. Yeah.
No, Robert, I don't think the Tories were behind the data breach. I think it's some minor civil servant. Thanks, Davies.
Yeah, thanks, David.
If we win Indy, do you think England will have a big army? They're going to have to sort it out somehow.
Yeah.
But they'll not be having an army with us, that's for sure. Because of the social contract, between the people in these islands. I mean, the one thing that Penny Morgan got right was we are a big family now. We're so integrated, but we're no abandoning them, and we're no racists. But as I say, the PNSI thing, it'll be some minor civil servant, and because they don't have an administration running out there, their plates are full.
Yeah.
You know, the civil service is basically running the province. You know,
Sandra, I appreciate you saying it's not our problem. You know, I mean, we get there. She's one of us. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Very importantly, David, to me, it could well be that there's a good few officers in the PNSI that are PSNI, sorry, that are Scottish.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they might have served in the military there, go out in the military there, and joined the police there.
That's right. Yeah.
But you're right. Right, let's move on to the stooshy between with Labour. Labour trying to claim that the SNP have put 14 million quid on credit cards over the last 3 years. Newsflash, folks, it wasn't the SNP, it was the civil service plus ministers. And there's only, 20 ministers or something like that? So,
but David, they bought a disco outfit for 27 quid. I think that's just beyond the pale.
Of course it is. And of course, Nicola Sturgeon get a belt now, 8,849 quid on a security, getting through airports and things like that. Newsflash, people, every time that idiot down the road, the PM, your wee midget guy, whose trousers are halfway up his legs. Well, sorry, he's still in short trousers, isn't he? He's just a wee boy. Every time he gets on that bloody plane, costs more than that.
Yeah. Or helicopter.
Or the helicopter. That's Disney. I mean, we can't hear. But there was another complaint that the Labour Party made about VIP accommodation being provided at Glen Eagles. What do you want us to do? Stick foreign dignitaries in the travel lodge? Mental cases. Well, anyway, so the civil service and civil service plus 20 ministers have put 14 million quid onto credit cards or government credit cards over the last 3 years. So what?
Can we find out how much booze was carried in suitcases into number 10? The time that Boris was having his big bashes.
It's just nonsense to the Labour Party. I mean, what we should do is go back to the first Labour administration and have a look at what they here in Scotland and see what they put in credit cards. But then we've got to remember the second Labour Lib Dem administration, who sent 1.5 billion of the Scottish budget back because they couldn't find nothing to spend it on, when poverty was bloody through the roof.
Yeah. And the time when they were actually doing the PPP, the public-private partnership for building schools and all the rest of it, right? I'm not going to say anything about that, but they sent back $1.5 billion to the Treasury, and it still did the public-private partnership. What is that?
That $1.5 billion back in the early 2000s to build the facilities rather than get private sector. But you know, it's just madness.
There's something wildly wrong about that. There really is something wildly wrong about that.
I mean,
if we want
to look at waste of public bus, aircraft carriers that are not suitable for aircraft, we've got a HS2, which is now being said could never be completed. And they've spent over 90 billion on it, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, we've got all that crap PPE they bought down that road, 10.2 billion up in smoke, they're having to burn that, as well as 7 million quid a day to store it.
Yeah.
Why would they burn that? Wow. They want to talk about 14 million. It's the same with all these daft ferries, isn't it? We keep hearing about ferries. Calmack's got a 99% efficiency rate. The best ferry service on the planet. Yeah, sometimes Lifeline services break down, but nobody opens.
And the HMS Prince of Wales, the big aircraft carrier, broke its propeller, and that cost £25 million to replace.
So we'll get union politicians wanting to talk about wasting the public purse. Wow, anybody looked at the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers? Absolutely mental. Anyway, let's move on to the next spanner.
That was very, very near a wee mini rant there, David. Be careful.
Aye. I'm trying to keep my blood pressure down. Go up tonight, you know.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on to the next spanner. 30p Lee Powell. When you know, Powell. The budget, you know, Powell. If you don't like barges, F off back to France. What did you make it, David?
Could you imagine anybody, I'm not talking about just the SNP, anybody in the Scottish Parliament coming away with that kind of language, talking about refugees? You know, I'm not going to say that every single one of them have come from the bombing or getting shot or whatever. There will be some there that are economic migrants. They want to come here because they want a better life for themselves. Good for them. You know, it's like, come on, let's get it in perspective here, right? But there are people that have literally.
Gordon McKenzie tells us he's done 640 Calmac sailings with only 2 problems. One was a crash and one was a broken hydraulic arm.
Yeah. There you go. What's your take on 30p Lee? Why is he actually doing this? Why is he actually doing stuff like this?
Because to the Tory party that had to get somebody out there to take people's minds off the fact that these refugees have been put onto a death trap.
Yeah.
You know, so up comes Lee, the useful idiot, to say something stupid and distracting. You know, that's basically what it was. The other thing he's there to deflect from is the other stuff we're talking about, like John Redwood pushing to get out of the European Court of Human Rights at this point in time. You know, as our human rights become more and more diminished by this wicked establishment down that road, and I don't mean just the Tories. I mean the whole bloody thing's rotten to the core.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what it is. It's a distraction for what they're actually doing. They're treating these people in inhuman conditions. You know what I mean? They're keeping these people in inhuman conditions at risk. As we know, the HSE and the fire brigade wouldn't sign off on this bloody thing. And they, of course, you know, they think it's going to be a deterrent to people coming here. Now let's talk about the first night of the Bibby Stockholm, shall we? The 50 people who had been selected to be the first on, only 15 made it onto the barge. That meant that in the first night that the barge was supposed to be occupied, it was costing the UK taxpayer £400,000 per night per person. Now, why was only 15 on it instead of 50? Because 35 of them said, no, I'm not going on that. I'm traumatised after crossing that channel on a wee boat.
Don't blame them. Don't blame them. And to be honest with you, I wish every single one of them would give that as the reason for not getting on board. Can't argue with that.
Yeah. But what's interesting is, I mean, this small boat crap and the culture war crap is to take people's mind off of the fact that we're getting ripped off by the energy companies, that the cost of living crisis is spiraling out of control. The inflation, although coming down at the moment, is likely to hit the bloody roof again as soon as the checks come into place, which will have to come into place. They've booted it down the road again. That's the fifth time they have booted these checks down the road. The World Trade Organisation is going to step in eventually.
Yeah. So it's a pretty nasty mess, isn't it?
Stephen, what makes you think Phil Jones would want to come on and talk to us? I mean, no one's right. Yeah. Okay. Aye, that's another thing they do that road. Guess who's getting to give an honours list?
Go on then.
Lettuce. Liz Truss. She's getting to give a resignation honours list. Anyway, so she's allowed to select up to 14 people to stuff into the Lords. Anyway, two of the people she put forward, they rejected it, saying it would be a brass neck to get a beer hood off of her. But hey, when you're talking about idiots in comedy,
what about Nadine? She would be ideal for that. Does Liz Truss and Nadine Dorries get on okay?
Folks, play nice in the comments, please. But hey, aye. So we've got 30p Lee Enoch Powell, or Lee Powell. We've got Truss, who was beaten by lettuce, has been given the right to give out a a resignation honours list. We've got Sunak pointing at me boats as the economy spirals out of control and the recession gets and the misery gets deeper for ordinary people. I mean, and we'll get Penny Morton. Don't forget her coming up and telling us all we're racist because we want away from that madness. You know, go even that. What can you say, David? What can you say?
Well, I heard that the lettuce was still a bit edible.
Okay, I guess Frank's complaining about.
Chris Wilson says, "Would you take Liz Truss to the dancing, Davy?"
What?
Would you take? No, hang on. Would you take Liz Truss to the dancing, Davy?
I take the dancing. Of course, I'm an absolute gentleman. Can't put that to Liz Truss dancing. No. Hey, we'll put that one to the dragon, won't we?
Yeah. Putting Gary Glitter on the list, that was a bit extreme. Yeah.
It's nice to wind up with a wee bit of comedy, David.
Aye, of course it is. So, the problem is, all of this is ridiculous that we've mentioned today. Really is. You go through it bit by bit, and you just go, how bad can this get? We need independence. We need to get our heads around what we've been talking about is that the general election will be used as a plebiscite. And the trick is, we don't need a hodgepodge of different parties involved. We only need the SNP because that's what the international community are looking for. We're looking at how the SNP...
That's up to the SNP to convince us to vote SNP.
Yeah.
Right, it's a democracy. Anybody can stand if they want.
I know that, but the thing is, though,
going right now.
Yeah, we'd like to have a situation, Dave, where people start getting around their heads. Look, if you need to hold your bloody nose and vote SNP, we need it all to be behind that bloody wheel. Yeah.
Aye, but as I say, that's up to us to convince people to vote yes. But if we look at that polling done by Channel 4, if that's the outcome of the general election, folks, Scotland will be offside. You know, Scotland will be offside.
Yeah. But we've also got to get inside people's heads that it's a first past the post election.
Aye, that's up to us to chat to them.
David, the thing is that the plebiscite is the unionist politicians are going to go, no, that's illegal. No, you can't do that. You know, and all the rest of it. We are going to have to explain to our people, our own people, the plebiscite is perfectly legal, and it's Westminster is a first past the post election. So it doesn't matter if we end up with 20% of the vote, right? It's the number of MPs sitting in the Scottish section for the SNP that actually makes a difference.
And Nathan's asking, what's my bet on a GE, when will be called? Based on the polling that was done by Channel 4, I think they'll keep it along. They'll go in the long. It'll be autumn next year, if I'm right. Yeah. You know. Obviously, within the Tory party, there's someone that called in May because it might limit the damage. But that's where we're done, David.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember, folks, if you're on YouTube, hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, please share. In fact, just share across your social media platforms anyway if you like what we do. So,
final word just before we go, Dave. Yet again, I'm going to appeal to the people watching about the chain of freedom. And that happening. Go looking for the group on Facebook. If you haven't signed up yet, get signed up. It's one day of your life. That's all it is. One day of your life, and you're going to be involved in something that's going to be historic, where people join hands right the way across Scotland to show that we are together and we want independence. And there's no way that anybody can ignore that. Sorry, David, please carry on now.
Well, I've got nothing left to say, David. Yeah. Except if you like us, we're the two Davies. If you don't like us, we're the Risky United Appreciation Society.
Well, or 30p Wee.
Oh, aye. 30p Wee Appreciation Society. Right, well, nothing left to say apart from that, David. So I'm afraid it's 58 minutes before I start work. I got the thanks, Mr. E. We'll put that one up before we go. As it's just made it onto the screen. Super chat, £5 GB, Great British. Many rand. You're more than welcome.
Well, I'm heading to Aldi's to see if I can find a bottle of bleach with a salt tire on it. There you go. Right.
There you go. Right, anyway. Bye then, Davey.
Bye, Davey. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Few and figures are great today.